My name is Amy, and I never imagined that one dinner would destroy my entire career. Or so I thought. It all started when my boss, Richard Caldwell, called me into his office on a Thursday afternoon. "Amy, I need a favor," Richard said, leaning back in his leather chair. "A big one." "What kind of favor?" I asked, clutching my notepad. "I need you to pose as my fiancée at a business dinner tomorrow night. The Westbrook investors are old-fashioned. They prefer dealing with married or engaged men. They think it shows stability." I blinked. "You want me to pretend to be your fiancé?" "Just for one evening. 3 hours maximum. We'll have dinner, close the deal, and you'll never have to do it again," Richard said, sliding an envelope across his desk. "There's a $5,000 bonus in it for you." I stared at the envelope. $5,000 would cover my mom's medical bills for 2 months. "What about your actual girlfriend? Doesn't she—" "Jessica and I broke up last month. The investors don't know that, and I need this deal, Amy. The company needs this deal. You'd be helping everyone." "I don't know, Richard. This feels wrong." "It's just acting. You're brilliant at handling clients. Think of it as an extended client dinner where you play a role," he said, flashing that charming smile that had won over countless investors. "Plus, you'll get a shopping spree for a nice dress. Company card." Against my better judgment, I agreed. "Okay, just this once." "Perfect. The dinner is at Marcello's at 7. I'll send you the details. And Amy, thank you. This means everything." The next evening, I arrived at Marcello's wearing a navy dress and the fake engagement ring Richard had given me. My stomach churned with anxiety, but I kept telling myself it was just one night. Richard greeted me at the entrance. "You look perfect. Remember, we've been engaged for 6 months. We met at a charity gala. Keep it simple." "Got it," I whispered. We joined the Westbrook group at their table, 3 middle-aged men in expensive suits. Richard introduced me to Charles Westbrook, Daniel Park, and Michael Thompson. "Gentlemen, this is my fiancée, Amy Richardson," Richard said, placing his hand on my lower back. Charles smiled warmly. "Lovely to meet you, Amy. Richard's a lucky man." "Thank you, Mr. Westbrook. I'm the lucky one," I replied, playing my part. The dinner proceeded smoothly for 30 minutes. We discussed Richard's marketing strategies, the projected ROI, and expansion plans. I laughed at appropriate moments and asked intelligent questions, just as Richard had coached me. Then Michael Thompson leaned forward, studying my face intently. "Amy Richardson. That name sounds familiar. Have we met before?" My heart stopped. "I don't think so, Mr. Thompson." "No, I'm certain I know you from somewhere," Michael insisted, his eyes narrowing. "Wait, didn't you work at Henderson Consulting 3 years ago? You were an analyst there, weren't you?" The blood drained from my face. I had worked at Henderson Consulting, where Michael Thompson had been a client. But more importantly, Richard had specifically asked about my employment history, and I'd told him about Henderson. He knew there was a risk. Yes, I did work there briefly," I stammered. Michael's expression shifted to confusion. "But I thought you said you met Richard at a charity gala 6 months ago. Henderson Consulting closed down 4 years ago. Richard, your company only started 18 months ago. That doesn't add up." Richard's smile didn't falter. "Amy consulted for my previous firm. That's actually how we first connected, years before the gala. Small world, isn't it?" But Michael wasn't buying it. "Richard, I specifically remember Amy because she testified in a fraud investigation at Henderson. She was one of the honest ones who reported the irregularities." He turned to me. "You left consulting after that, didn't you? Said you wanted nothing to do with corporate fraud." "Gentlemen, I think there's been a misunderstanding," Richard began. "No, I don't think there is," Charles interrupted, setting down his wine glass. "Mr. Caldwell, is this young woman actually your fiancée, or is this some kind of scheme?" The dinner ended abruptly. The Westbrook group left without signing anything, and Richard's face turned crimson with rage. He gripped my arm as we walked to the parking lot. "You just cost me $15 million, Richard hissed. "You knew I worked at Henderson. You knew there was a risk someone might recognize me." I shot back, yanking my arm free. "This is your fault, Amy. You should have denied it. You should have played along better." "I'm not going to lie during a federal fraud investigation, reference, Richard. That's insane." He stepped closer, his voice dropping to a threatening whisper. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to forget this dinner ever took place. You won't mention it to anyone. Not HR, not your friends, nobody. Because if you do, I'll make sure everyone knows you willingly participated in investor fraud. You took money to deceive potential investors. That's a crime, Amy. You manipulated me into this." "Who's going to believe you? I'm a senior executive with a spotless record. You're an assistant with a history of whistleblowing. People will think you're paranoid, seeing fraud where there isn't any. Your career will be destroyed before mine." I felt trapped, terrified. "This isn't over, Richard." "Yes, it is. Come to work Monday and act like nothing happened. Oh, and you can forget about that $5,000 bonus." I drove home shaking, tears streaming down my face. But as I sat in my apartment, the fear transformed into anger. Richard had used me, threatened me, and assumed I'd stay silent like a scared victim. I called my sister Sarah, who was a paralegal at a law firm downtown. "Sarah, I need your help. I think I'm in serious trouble." "Amy? What happened? You sound awful." I explained everything. The dinner, the deception, Michael Thompson's recognition, and Richard's threats. "Oh my God, Amy. This is bad, but not in the way you think. Richard committed fraud, not you. He coerced you into this scheme. But you need evidence, and you need it fast." "What kind of evidence?" "Anything proving Richard planned this. Emails, text messages, recordings. Do you have anything showing he asked you to pose as his fiancée?" I checked my phone. He only asked me in person, but he sent me the shopping allowance approval via email. It says, "Dinner attire for Friday investor meeting." That's something, but not enough. Amy, listen carefully. Go to work Monday and act normal. If Richard discusses this again, record the conversation. We need him admitting he orchestrated this. Is that legal? New York is a one-party consent state. If you're part of the conversation, you can record it legally. I'm also going to connect you with someone, Detective Marcus Martinez. He specializes in corporate fraud investigations. He'll know how to handle this properly. Sarah, I'm scared. I know, sweetie, but Richard made a mistake. He threatened someone who's already proven she won't tolerate corporate fraud. You're going to be okay, I promise. Monday morning, I arrived at the office with my phone's recording app ready. Richard called me into his office within an hour. Amy, did you think about what I said Friday night? Yes, Richard. And I need to understand something. You knew Michael Thompson might recognize me, didn't you? You asked me detailed questions about my employment history. I did my due diligence. So what? So you deliberately put me in a position where I might be recognized, which means you were planning something. What was it, Richard? He laughed coldly. You're paranoid. I needed someone presentable to play my fiancé. You were convenient. Then why threaten me? If this was just a misunderstanding, why threaten to destroy my career? Because you're a liability, Amy. People who worked at Henderson Consulting have a reputation for causing problems. I can't have you running to HR or the board claiming I did something wrong when all I did was ask you to attend a business dinner. You asked me to commit fraud, Richard. His expression hardened. Be very careful with accusations like that. I have friends in this industry. One word from me, and you'll never work in New York again. Is that what you want? No. I want to understand why you'd risk everything for the Westbrook deal. $15 million is significant, but Caldwell Marketing is profitable. Why did you need it so desperately? Richard's jaw tightened. That's none of your concern. Just keep your mouth shut, do your job, and we'll forget this happened. And if I don't? Then I'll make sure your mother's medical treatment becomes very difficult to afford. Funny how insurance claims can get complicated when there are questions about employment status. I felt sick. He was threatening my mother now. I understand, I whispered, maintaining my frightened act. Good. Now get back to work. I left his office and immediately emailed the recording to Sarah, Detective Martinez, and my personal email. Sarah called me 30 minutes later. Amy, this is gold. He admitted to threatening your career and your mother's medical care. Detective Martinez wants to meet with you today. Can you take a late lunch? Detective Marcus Martinez met me at a coffee shop near my office. Sarah joined us. Ms. Richardson, I've listened to your recording. Richard Caldwell's company has been on our radar for 6 months. We suspect he's embezzling from clients, inflating marketing expenses, and pocketing the difference, Detective Martinez explained. So the Westbrook deal was about gaining access to their accounts? I asked. Exactly. He needed to appear stable and trustworthy. When that failed, he threatened you to ensure silence. Here's the interesting part. Michael Thompson contacted me this morning. The investor from dinner? Yes. He was suspicious after Friday, so he investigated Caldwell Marketing's finances. He found irregularities and called me because he remembered I worked the Henderson case. He remembered you were the honest analyst who reported the fraud. Sarah leaned forward. How does this help Amy? Michael Thompson is willing to testify that Richard deliberately brought Amy to that dinner. We believe Richard was testing something or planning to frame her. Either way, we have a witness who can establish Richard's intentions. What do I need to do? I asked. Keep working there. Act scared and compliant. If Richard makes more threats, record everything. We need him to feel confident enough to slip up. Can you do that? Yes, but my mother's medical care, he threatened. I'll document that threat immediately. If anything happens to your mother's insurance, we'll have proof of retaliation. You're not alone anymore, Amy. Over the next 2 weeks, I played the terrified employee perfectly. Richard grew comfortable and arrogant, making comments about handling problematic employees and joking about the Fiancée scheme with executives, not realizing I documented everything. Then Detective Martinez called. Amy, we have enough. We're executing a search warrant tomorrow morning at 9. We've secured testimony from 3 former clients who noticed billing irregularities. Combined with your recordings and Michael Thompson's statement, we have a solid case. What happens to me? You'll be protected as a witness. Richard Caldwell will be arrested for embezzlement, fraud, and witness intimidation. The DA is very interested in those threats against your mother. The next morning, I watched Detective Martinez and 4 officers enter Richard's office. Through the glass walls, I saw Richard's face transform from confused to terrified as Detective Martinez showed him the warrant. Richard's eyes found mine across the office floor. The realization hit him. I had turned the tables. Detective Martinez emerged 20 minutes later, Richard in handcuffs behind him. As they passed my desk, Richard sneered. You just destroyed your career, Amy. No one will hire you after this. I stood up, meeting his eyes calmly. No, Richard. You destroyed your own career. I just refuse to let you destroy mine, too. 3 days later, I sat in Detective Martinez's office with Sarah, Michael Thompson, and District Attorney Jennifer Walsh. Ms. Richardson, the evidence you gathered was instrumental, DA Walsh said. Richard Caldwell faces 12 counts of embezzlement, 3 counts of fraud, 2 counts of witness intimidation, and 1 count of attempted extortion. What sentence is he looking at? I asked. Given the $8 million stolen and his threats against you and your mother, we're seeking 15 to 20 years. Michael Thompson spoke up. Amy, I wanted to apologize for that dinner. When I recognized you, I had no idea Richard had coerced you. Mr. Thompson, you saved me. If you hadn't been suspicious enough to investigate, Richard might have continued for years. I remembered your integrity from Henderson. I knew if you were involved in something questionable, it wasn't by choice. That's why I called Detective Martinez immediately. Sarah squeezed my hand. Tell them about the company's response. I smiled. The Caldwell Marketing Board contacted me yesterday. They've fired Richard and asked me to help with the transition. They offered me Richard's position as Director of Client Relations. Detective Martinez grinned. You deserve it. There's more. The Westbrook Group reached out. They want to proceed with the partnership, and Michael specifically requested I be the primary account manager. Michael nodded. Our company values integrity. After watching how you handled this, gathering evidence, working with law enforcement, standing up to threats, we knew you were exactly who we want representing our interests. Thank you, Michael. DA Walsh cleared her throat. Amy, Richard's attorney contacted my office. Richard wants to speak with you. He's offering to plead guilty to reduce charges in exchange for an apology. He claims he was under pressure and hopes you'll speak at his sentencing hearing on his behalf. No, I said firmly. Whatever he wants, the answer is no. Sarah scoffed. After everything he did? Detective Martinez, DA Walsh, Richard threatened my career, my reputation, and my mother's medical care. He manipulated me into fraud, then tried to blackmail me into silence. This apology is just another manipulation. What should I tell his attorney? DA Walsh asked. Tell them Richard can plead guilty or go to trial. His choice. But I won't help reduce his sentence, and I won't accept any apology. Some people deserve second chances. Richard Caldwell isn't one of them. Detective Martinez shook my hand. You did the right thing, every step. You gathered evidence legally, cooperated with law enforcement, and refused to let fear control you. 2 months later, Richard was sentenced to 18 years in federal prison with full restitution ordered. The judge mentioned his threats against me and my mother as aggravating factors. I attended with Sarah. As Richard was let out, he looked at me one final time. I simply looked away. Afterward, Sarah and I celebrated at a cafe. How does it feel? Sarah asked. Like I can finally breathe. For weeks, I was terrified he'd destroy everything. Instead, I'm making 3 times my salary, managing major accounts, and working with people who value integrity. Mom would be so proud. Have you told her? Not the threatening part. Her health couldn't handle that stress. But I told her about the promotion and Westbrook partnership. She cried happy tears. You turned the worst situation into the best outcome. I learned something important. Richard assumed I'd stay silent because I was afraid. He thought threats could control me. But he forgot I'd stood up to corporate fraud before. I knew how to document everything, work with law enforcement, build a case. His arrogance became his downfall. And now, you're calling the shots. Exactly. I'm done being anyone's victim. From now on, I make my own decisions, protect my own interests, and surround myself with people who value honesty. My phone buzzed with an email from Michael. First Westbrook meeting next week. Looking forward to working with someone we can trust. Michael. I showed Sarah. This is the beginning of something good. You've earned every bit of it, sis. As we finished our coffee, I reflected on the journey from that disastrous dinner to this moment. Richard had tried to use me, threaten me, and silence me. Instead, I'd gathered evidence, built a case with professionals who believed in justice, and emerged stronger than ever. Have you ever had a boss or colleague who tried to manipulate you into doing something wrong, then threatened you when things went wrong? What would you have done in my situation? Like and subscribe for more stories about people who refused to be victims and fought back the right way.